All right. I think it's setting up. We're getting ready. I'm giving everyone a chance to come on in. Yes, we are live. Those of you who are on, I'm checking the Facebook to make sure it's up and loaded. We are here. Allison is in the building. We're not in the building, but on live.
On the Zoom.
On the Zoom/Facebook. If you're joining us, come on in. Listen, this is going to be a great discussion today. I always say I'm super excited, and I feel like every time I go back and watch the videos, I'm like, I have to stop saying I'm super excited. But I'm really excited about this talk because my beautiful friend Alison is in the building, and I need y'all to share it, post it, all that good stuff. Invite your homies, invite everybody, because we're about to have a great conversation. Thank you for agreeing to come and chat.
Thank you for having me.
You know, we have these talks on the phone almost every other day, and it begins with, friend, you won't believe what happened to me today.
Yep.
Pretty accurate. So I'm going to give y'all time to come on in, and we're going to get started on this awesome discussion. Let me tell y'all are looking at a powerhouse. Okay? Y'all gonna see her on y'all screen soon, giving you public updates about national disparities and all that stuff. This girl is fantastic. Alison Footman, y'all put y'all hands together in the comments for my girl Alison. What can I say about Alison before I give y'all her professional bio? Alison and I, we went to Agnes Scott together from freshman year all the way to senior year. And then we just, I don't know, we kept in touch, but not really on a daily basis. We were friends on Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, after my bout with medical school, I decided to get my PhD at UAB, and Alison reached out and was like, I'm at UAB too. And I was like, what? And we linked back up, and it feels like time hasn't even gone by.
I know.
We just meshed right back together. So I'm so excited. Alison is currently a doctoral candidate at the University of Alabama at Birmingham School of Public Health. Snaps for her. She's from Durham, North Carolina. She earned her Bachelor of Science in Biology and Mathematics from Agnes Scott College in 2015, and her Master's of Public Health in Epidemiology of Microbial Diseases from Yale University School of Public Health in 2017. Currently, her dissertation focuses on vaccine acceptance for future adolescent vaccines, including those that protect against chlamydia, HIV, and COVID-19. Please welcome the future Dr. Alison Footman. You give a clap for yourself too.
I'm gonna clap for myself.
You need to clap for yourself, girl. Oh my gosh. So I have a lot of questions, and I know the people want to know, but can you just kind of talk us through your journey a bit? Like, what caused you to really enter into the public health sector? Because I know Agnes Scott, when we first got there, I don't think they had a public health major. They kind of introduced it while we were there. So kind of what was your passion? What kind of drove you to that point?
So I always tell people that when I was younger, when I was little, I wanted to be a pediatrician. And then there was one year I was in the pediatric office all the time, and I would look around the waiting room and see all those other sick kids and be like, I don't want to be around this for the rest of my life. Like, I didn't want to be there for the 15 minutes I was in the waiting room. But I knew that I still wanted to help people. And thankfully, I had a really great family support system that helped me in kind of looking through these options of what does it mean to help improve people's health when you don't want to be a pediatrician or an MD. Wow. And so starting in high school, I knew I wanted to enter public health. When applying for colleges, I looked for programs and schools that had some type of public health aspect or program or internship. And I ended up at Agnes and was like, okay, Like, we didn't have a public health degree at the point. I
Mhm.
didn't really appreciate the public health degrees that, kind of do exist. And so I was like, I want a degree that is a little bit more sustainable, and that when I graduate, if I like, you never know what happens.
Yeah.
So really something to land back on. And that's how I ended up getting my degree in math and biology. Thankfully, during Agnes, they had this scholarship called the Bevere, I think,
Yes, I
internship.
remember
Yes.
that.
So yeah,
Yeah.
she kind of actually helped me to apply. I remember that. I
Remember.
was so nervous. I was
'Cause
like,
we
I'm
were
not sure if
neighbors.
I
We were
want to
next door
apply.
neighbors at the time when you were applying for that. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I ended up applying, and I got this amazing summer internship at CDC where I was in the division of STD prevention. And that one summer internship turned into 2 more years of me being at CDC. And throughout that time, when you're working in these environments, you see so many people, you meet so many people, and they all have these different degrees. And so those folks really helped in mentoring me to be like, you need to go get an M.P.H. They helped me in deciding what schools to apply for. Once I got into some programs, I literally went around our entire office and asked them, so where do you think I should go? And I will always credit, my team there for really helping me enter into the graduate field for public health. And so that is really how I.
Mhm. I can't hear you. 1 second. Maybe it's the internet. Give us 1 second, y'all. You want me to mute you and unmute you? Okay, let me try that.
Wait, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, that
Now
was
you're
my
back.
fault. I was playing with my AirPod case, and
You're good.
my computer did not enjoy that.
The
Like,
AirPods try to mess up our steam. It's okay.
I know.
I
Look
mean,
at
this is a
that
powerful
fool.
story. Yeah.
um,
Either.
And so that's how I ended up at Yale School of Public Health. And while I was there, I had these amazing opportunities to do surveillance work and interview people on foodborne diseases. So the way I ended up in epidemiology was that I really wanted to combine my interest in math and biology. And so
Wow.
epi is really one of those fields where you're kind of looking at disease rates. You're trying to understand the true background behind how a disease or how an infection is able to travel through a community. But during my time doing foodborne surveillance, I would have to ask these people, you kind of invade people's lives when you are asking them about the foods that they've eaten that might have led to some type of foodborne infection. And I learned that there are just so many powerful stories behind infections, behind even what you eat, that it really led me to want to kind of follow that path and understand the stories behind sexually transmitted infections and just infectious diseases as a whole, which landed me at UAB and studying health behavior.
Yay. Listen, I never knew like your pathway to like now. And it really sounds like you created your own lane, because I feel like when we got to Agnes, I was kind of like familiar with public health, but I felt like it was like up and coming, like it was such um a new sector. And so for you to just kind of like create your own lane, that is just like super cool, super powerful. And then the fact that you're able to kind of you knew that you wanted to use your degree in different ways and not just stay in like one place, but saying, you know what, I need to make this degree count. I need to
Yes.
be able for it to be like as flexible as possible, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, so what would you say was like the breaking point really throughout your career path, whether it's now or kind of going through your master's at Yale? I'm familiar with, that story, just the environment. What would you say kind of was a breaking point and you really deciding, you know what, I'm going to continue this despite it presenting a lot of challenges?
So I think at the end of the day, I have always had a passion for improving people's health.
Mhm,
And, not just the absence of disease, how people
mhm,
typically define health, but really making sure it's this holistic, whole body type of approach that,
mhm.
if you want to go out and eat a bunch of food, you can do that. And then at the same time, I say that because I think of myself. Like,
Right.
throughout this PhD program, I have really survived on cookies these past 4 weeks.
Love
But
cookies.
at the same time, like, I have to balance that with now exercising, which I don't enjoy. But overall, my passion has really been working within this field. And so, going through grad school, you'll definitely experience many experiences, both positive and negative. But I
Mhm,
think as long as you're doing something that you're passionate about and something that you really want to follow through and see to the end, that energy is what really motivates me.
mhm. Yeah, that's great. Like I think it's so important that people kind of understand that there are negative sides to this, especially going to predominantly white institutions where most of the time you're probably going to be the only, right? And so being able to kind of have a village of people that understand you, have allies that are able to support you through the process. And it's good to see that there's someone like you that is able to reach out to people who look just like us. Because let's be honest, if you go into a lot of underrepresented communities, you do not see Whole Foods, you do not see Target, you do not
No.
see Starbucks. You see a little Piggly Wiggly, you see a little McDonald's. It's very evident, the messaging there as it pertains to food and health. And so I guess, what are some things that you feel are important throughout your work that you're doing now to ensure like that our communities are healthy and that they're thriving?
So I'll say that I primarily focus on infectious diseases.
I was trying to
When
push
it
you into a direction and you're like,
I know. So when it comes to, a lot of these fields where they do focus on food and weight,
Mhm.
it's something that I kind of stay away from because I
Yeah.
think that sometimes they're not as inclusive fields. And
Mm,
so when you're doing this work, you really have to understand that people come from all types of different environments. And
yeah.
so how we define healthy, how I might define healthy, is not the same way that someone else will, and also understanding that they don't always have the same resources as
Right.
us. So
Right.
I have a car, and I live in Birmingham, so I can travel the 8 miles up the road to Sprouts and get some nice produce.
Right.
And I know, and I can go to Fresh Market every other day and get some cookies when I need them. But not everyone has those same opportunities. And I
Mhm.
think overall, when you think about public health, there really is this understanding, or, we really are moving in this field to this understanding that people have different access to things that might help to improve their health.
Mhm.
And so, one of the things that we have to do is really work on improving people's access, whether that is to healthy grocery stores, whether it is to hospitals and other healthcare clinics, whether it's to, you know, physicians that you need. We really do have to, one, understand that people have different access levels and different needs. And two, we need to then be able to kind of build in these programs and build these communities that people feel safe accessing to improve their health or maintain their health.
Mm. Can we put some hand claps in the comments? Yes. I mean, we have these discussions all the time, but I, I'm just enamored by you. You're just a boss. And so let's kind of talk about, is there someone specifically in your field? So I said earlier that your dissertation is really focused on vaccine acceptance to protect against chlamydia, HIV, and COVID-19. So I guess my first question would be, why that project? Why are you so passionate about channeling this, especially in the time that we're living in now? We see the COVID-19 vaccine is here, and there are a lot of people who are apprehensive about taking it. And but not only that, you moving towards creating vaccines for chlamydia and HIV. So one, why that specific field? And then two, is there someone in particular in that field that you kind of mirror yourself after to achieve your career goals?
So I'll say that, my dissertation, it kind of came about organically. So I've always, sorry, there's like someone at my door. Can y'all hear that knocking?
Yes.
I'm like trying to ignore that. I never get people knocking on my door, so I'm so sorry.
We have a day today. It's okay. Roll with us, y'all. Roll with us.
This is what happens in a Zoom environment.
Yes.
So I'll say that my dissertation really came organically. So I've always had an interest and a passion within the STD, STI field, and that really stems from my experience at CDC. And so when it came to my dissertation, I really wanted a project that focused on improving people's sexual health overall. So some of you might not know, but in this country, we have extremely high rates of sexually transmitted infections. Wow. They continue to rise every year. They cost our US healthcare system billions of dollars in lifetime costs. And, for women, STIs can really lead to some, not fun consequences, I'll say. I don't want to say terrible, but it can lead to infertility among women and pelvic inflammatory disease, which really causes a lot of discomfort. And so in thinking about STIs and sexual health, I talked to my mentor a lot. Like, she also works in the STI field, so I'm always going to her with crazy ideas. And then she comes back to me with what she knows is going on within the field and could actually be something worthwhile. And so when coming out with my dissertation, she talked a lot about how some of her recent meetings, both local and national, had really been focusing on vaccines. And so the NIH back in 2019, they dedicated millions of dollars to really develop bacterial STI vaccines. So those for chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis. And during the time when I was looking, the chlamydia vaccine had the most movement. Apparently the people back there aren't giving up, but we're going to keep going. And so that really led to my dissertation topic focusing on chlamydia vaccines. And so throughout this pandemic, so this is a project that I've been working on for a few years, but it has really kind of had to like jump off during the pandemic. And during this time, there's also been, some renewed interest in HIV vaccines. There's been a lot of research within that field as well. And then you enter into a pandemic, and now we have all of these thoughts and people talking about COVID vaccines. So it was just a really great opportunity to, one, explore people's opinions on chlamydia vaccines versus HIV vaccines, to infections that can be spread pretty similarly. But then two, in this pandemic, to really understand people's opinions on a COVID-19 vaccine, especially when the development has happened so quickly and really before our eyes. So that is really how my dissertation topic came about. I think when it comes to role models, I always have a problem with this type of question because I feel I never have just one role model. I think there are a lot of different people who I have met, who I know about, who I think are just incredibly great, or they have some really incredible factors about themselves. I have women in my family who are just incredibly powerful and inspirational. But then, you turn on the TV and you see Oprah, and she seems so cool.
Even though we don't know her personally.
I don't know her personally at all. Shout out to Oprah, but she always seems so cool when you watch her on TV. She was so nice and inviting, and I mean, homegirl makes bank, and so where I don't want to be Oprah. I don't want to be on national TV with my own talk show. I'm not interested in having my own magazine, but I am interested in being someone that like people can trust. And I am interested in being someone who people can connect with. So I think, you look at all of these different people, whether it be celebrities, your family members, even like past surgeon generals. And I think you can just find factors within these people that are incredibly inspiring and someone that you would want to be.
I think that's so powerful that you say that, because I think some people kind of pigeonhole themselves on like, I have to be this person. I have to do everything that they did so I can get what they got. Not understanding though, like you can pull from multiple people, because at the end of the day, it's really about your character, right? Like you can have all the money in the world, get to where you need to get to, but if you don't have character and being able to pull from different people, asking them questions, I think it's so important that you do that. That will make you even more successful. I was talking to my dad this weekend and he was like, money is not wealth. Wealth is relationships. When you can connect with different people and build a network that you can just be like, oh, I know this person at Emory. I know this person at Yale. I know this person at CDC. I need help with this. Being able to pull from so many different people to make you better, that's priceless. That is priceless. And the fact that like you're in this sector is it's just amazing.
I think one of the things I've learned at UAB, so for those of y'all who don't know, in academia in general, you meet a lot of different characters. Some of
Yeah.
them good, some of them not so good. But one of the things that really solidified me within my journey is that I always wanted to be someone who is honest. And I think that is a question that comes up a lot now, especially within public health and within medicine. There is a lot of light being shown on people who maybe did these terrible experiences in the past or had these terrible impacts on health in the past. And while I'm someone who's like, well, if y'all do these terrible experiments, you're still terrible people.
Right.
There are other people who I guess see this in a little bit more of a gray zone where they're like, well, I don't want to judge someone, in a time period that I wasn't alive. But I think one of the most important things you can do throughout your career is really being honest. Like you have to be honest with yourself about who you want to be, where you want to go in your career, but you also have to be honest with the people that you're working with. And I'll say that I know some people might find this a little surprising because my memory can be so terrible sometimes. So I know specifically in my family, they'll ask me questions and I'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, Alison, we had this conversation 8 months ago. So I think there's something with being honest, but there's also, it can be a little difficult when your memory is just terrible at this point. So, but you have to give yourself compassion.
That's so good. I always talk about that, like be kind to yourself, because I know you have a lot going on. And so just being honest with yourself is just so important. And so how do you feel like you deal with like the stress of of getting your PhD, most of the time being the only person, dealing with um some things that people say and just kind of turning the other cheek, but then also speaking up? How do you deal with the stress of that?
So I'll say on my day to day dealing with stress,
Mhm.
I have a therapist. I love my therapist. I
There-
love being in therapy.
Yes.
I'll say as a grad student, it can be difficult finding a therapist because you have on campus therapists, which sometimes they're not always the most trustworthy in my own opinion and experience. And you're on a limited stipend. And so finding a therapist outside of your school system can then be expensive. It is another bill you are tacking on. But I would not have been able to get through my graduate degrees without having a therapist and just having someone to kind of work through those day-to-day struggles with and those stresses. I think when it comes to stress and this whole self-care movement, like I like a good face mask. I like a good some candles burning. But
Aromatherapy.
exactly. I got the lavender oils to
You
rub
do.
on your
Smells so
wrist
good in
and
your house.
everything. I know I've also gotten into buying a lot of plants during the pandemic,
Yep.
but I really think, part of this journey is really figuring out what self-care means to you. So sometimes for me, it means buying a pack of cookies for dinner,
That's real.
unfortunately. Sometimes it means, during the pandemic, I've been very fortunate and I've been able to work from home throughout this entire time. So when people are stressing me out, I'll be like, guys, I got to take a step back. I'll go take a nap. Like there are all of these things you have to do to really stay sane in these programs. But I think, again, a lot of that too in handling stress is really being honest with yourself. And so a lot of times in grad school, you do have people who might say some things about you or to you, and they talk about your character or your work ethic. And sometimes, what they say can really hit hard. And I think you do have to spend some time reflecting on what they said, reflecting on how that made you feel, and also reflecting on if there's any power or truth to what they said. Like you have to build those boundaries to make sure you're not giving someone more power than they deserve from your body.
You said a mouthful there. Thank God this is being recorded. Y'all can rewind because there was a lot in there.
So, mostly I buy the plants. There are a lot of plants in here.
There are a lot of plants. You always post your plants on Instagram. Like, she got another one. That's okay.
I'm sure the plant people are wondering, how does this girl afford them? And I'm like, I don't know.
So we talked about how you deal with stress and what you're doing now in your PhD program. Just for people who are interested in entering public health, the field of public health, would you say there's a conventional or unconventional route? Like, do you say, of course, you have to go to college, get your bachelor's, but do you have to get your master's and get your PhD? Like, what does that look like as far as, I guess, or does it depend on where you want to go in the field?
So I think with public health, so there's a difference between working in public health and getting a degree in public health. So you can work in this field and have basically never taken a public health class. Wow. There are a lot of people in public health who maybe they studied psychology, maybe they're more into environmental and sciences. We have positions where you are a biologist or chemist who works in this field because you're the person helping to develop drugs or medications to help in, treating different infections or diseases. So I'll say if you want to work in public health, at some point you have to decide what area of public health you want to be in, and that can really shape the degree that you get. I'll say if you go into college knowing that you want to work in public health, I knew that, but I didn't get a degree in public health. I know a lot of students who even got an M.P.H and they majored in Spanish or philosophy or religion. I mean, there are just so many different ways that you can come into this field, and I think that they're all important. So at some point during my master's, I thought about getting a degree in religion because I do so much work, in STDs and HIV, and religion is such a big part of some people's sexual health. And so really understanding that connection and being able to speak on it, I think is so incredibly powerful. You just have so many people, so many pathways, which is one of the things that I love about public health, is that if you want to be in this field, you can really bring any skill set that you want to within it, because it's all needed. Because in public health, we are dealing with communities and we are dealing with populations, and no community looks the same. So your skill set is always going to be needed.
Wow, that's awesome. Like, so would you say that when you're studying, I guess, a population, right, are you also taking into consideration culture as well, and how they kind of connect with each other in the community, and how that affects, I guess, any stats you see or treatment or things of that nature, or policy?
So I'll say that my opinion in public health is that you should study people's culture. You should study, their entire life. Everything intersects with your health. So your culture, your beliefs, where you live, this all has a great impact on your health. And so depending, there are some careers where you do not have to think that deeply about someone's whole person and doing, whatever you want to do within this field, whether you want to be an epidemiologist and really focus on this one question. I mean, the same can be said for a health behavior scientist. The same can be said for anyone within this field. There are a lot of people who don't really take that into account, but my goal in public health is really being being able to understand a person as a whole and really understanding what is making them them, so that we can understand how that impacts their health.
Yes, Allison. Can y'all put some hand claps? I mean, you're just so great. We always have these conversations on the phone, but like, I'm just so happy that everyone can just kind of hear like you know, you're just so awesome. If y'all have any questions for Allison, please feel free to put it in the comments. I have questions for you and we're going to wrap it up soon. But I guess navigating through this whole process, what would you say is the biggest lesson that you learned, or you feel like maybe you haven't learned it yet, but I'm sure you have a lesson that you learned.
The biggest lesson I've learned. That is a hard question. I think there are so many lessons you learn every day almost.
Yeah, we learn
You
them.
learn things about time management. I've learned
about time management.
I've learned that I am a person who, in order to function at 28, like I need my 8 hours of sleep. And sometimes I still need a nap within the middle of the day.
Yeah, I definitely know not when to call you.
That phone goes on do not disturb right at 9. Good luck to those who try to call after 9. But I think, again, one of the things that I have truly learned through this journey is just how important it is to be honest. And I think another thing is really kind of knowing your own boundaries and whatever field you're in and respecting those boundaries. Yeah. So a lot of times you like, you know, someone asked me the other day if I could meet with them in the evening time during the weekday. And I was like, no, like I am the type of person, I will meet with you at 5:30 a.m. Yeah. However, if you ask me to meet with you at 7 p.m., that's a hard no. Like I can work in the morning, but not in the night. And so that is really a boundary that I've had to set with myself. I think also when you start working, you really have to learn when to say no. There are people who will ask things of you all of the time, and you really do have to be like, no. And you have to talk to your mentors and figure out how to say no appropriately, and when it is okay to say no versus sometimes you just got to play the academic game and say yes. But then figuring out how to say yes within your boundaries. So those are really some of the important things I've learned throughout this.
That's powerful, because that's something that I struggle with now, just early on in grad school, saying no. It's so hard for me because I want to be able to do everything. But like, if you are doing too much, then your work won't get done. If you're doing everything else for everybody, then you find yourself in the program longer than you need to be. Yes. And so learning how to say, no, I can't do it today. No, 7:30 is not going to work. Let's find another time. That is just like, yeah, that's gold.
I think especially it's really hard to kind of create those boundaries as a Black woman, because there are so many people who, one, will interpret my no in all types of ways. I'll be like, no, I'm not available. And all of a sudden there are emails going around being like, Alison told me she would never work with me again.
The angry woman.
I know. And I was like, all I said was no, like I couldn't do it. And so you have to deal with the way that people interpret you. You have to deal with, you know, we already offer so many limited opportunities. So when is it that you say yes? And when is it that you say no? And even nowadays, I still have fears of, if I say no, will this close a door within my future or my path? Or will this affect a relationship that I have with another researcher? Like, it can be incredibly intimidating, especially when you are young, when you are Black, when you're a woman. And so you really kind of have to get comfortable within that space and realizing that I am a 28-year-old Black woman. I have said no to you nicely, and I'm going to stand in my truth.
You can say whatever you want to say about me.
Like, I know what happened.
You.
But also,
go ahead.
If you continue to cross this line, then we are going to have a problem. And at that point, you have to figure out how to address it.
Ooh-wee. And I don't want no problems with you.
I don't want no problems either.
Because I've seen you in action. I just sit there like, yep. There you go.
I think the one misconception people have about me is at the end of the day, all I'm trying to do is get home to my couch and watch Bravo. I don't want any
Love a
drama.
Bravo, honey.
I'm not trying to get into any arguments.
Yes.
I'm not trying to work extra hours because I messed something up. Like, I'm trying to do my work, do it well, so that I can get home and watch Bravo and ignore my phone.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think it's important to know, like, your work will speak for itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't have to fight with people. You don't have to go back and forth. Let your work speak for itself. And they can have whatever preconceived notions, whatever they want to have in their mind about you. Do your work, do the best that you can do, and then just sit back and watch it just
Exactly.
unfold and be like, I'm fantastic, I'm awesome, I'm great at what I do.
At the end of the day, they can say all this stuff, and you're like, well, I sent you the product, and it was really well. And while all this drama happened, I was literally just on my couch watching Bravo. So I don't know what happened.
I mean, altogether, we have countless stories of just the comments that have been made to us and just the undercurrent, stuff.
Yeah.
The undercurrent comments, and you're just like, am I reading into this? But you really meant what you said. And it's because I'm a woman, and it's because I'm Black. And so let's
those microaggressions are real.
Microaggressions. I don't know. I get brain fog sometimes, but that's it for sure. Microaggressions, and it's just like, I think for me, like being a grad student, you're in an awkward place because it's like, should I speak up and like address it? Or should I just kind of peel it back and be like, you know what? I just need to get my PhD and move on, But this conversation is so good. Being an advocate for yourself, speaking up for yourself and saying, no, I'm uncomfortable. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this. No, I'm going to leave at 5:00 p.m. and go home because I did everything I needed to do today and I'm going home. And so advocating for yourself is really important in every sector, whether it's in public health, in law, in medicine, whatever degree, whatever sector you decide to go into, being an advocate for yourself is so important. And so we're going to wrap up. But Alison, this was just such a great talk. Do you have any closing comments? Anything you want to say? Encourage the people, whatever it is. Because you went to Yale. Like, I brag about you all the time. I brag about my friends all the time. But like, you're a powerhouse and you have big things in store. And I'm just so excited for you. But do you have anything else to say to the lovely people out there?
So I will say to the lovely people out there that we are still in the middle of a pandemic.
Say it.
We all need to get vaccinated. I got my vaccine. I got that Pfizer vaccine, the 2-dose. It was great.
I told you which one I got. You were like,
you did. You told me which one you got. But any vaccine is better than no vaccine at this point. And so we really, in order to even get back to some semblance of our lives, we have to be vaccinated. We have to continue wearing those masks right now. We have to continue keeping our distance from people. People are asking me all the time, hey, Alison, you want to go out? And I'm like, no, that was like a super spreader event. Like, I don't know these people if they've been vaccinated. All I know is that I've been vaccinated and I want to continue to be safe and healthy. So I keep my mask on. I keep my distance from people. If people want to hang out, I go, are you vaccinated? Like, if you have the ability to ask your friends those questions, ask them those questions. We need to really know and have these conversations right now. Because we are in the middle of a pandemic, I will say, get vaccinated. If you have any questions about getting vaccinated, let me know. If you need help signing up to get a vaccine, let me know.
Where can people reach you? Let them know.
People can reach me through my friend Shekinah.
I got y'all. I'm not giving out personal numbers though. We're not doing that.
People can reach me through my friend Shekinah. If y'all want an email address, y'all can always hit up that afootman@uab.edu because I don't really care about that email address and I will answer you.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Alison. Y'all, just follow the instructions. She knows what she's talking about. She's an expert. She knows what she's talking about. Okay, let's be informed, y'all. Thank you, Alison, again for coming on this platform
Thank you for
and sharing
having
your
me.
knowledge. I think it's so important that people know that there are other careers out there. There's so many things that you can do. Follow your passion. If you are passionate about helping people to live a better life, maybe public health is the best field for you. And I love public health. It's such a huge umbrella. There's so many things that you can do. So follow your passion. Don't feel like you have to pigeonhole yourself into one thing. There's so many opportunities out there. Don't let anything stop you from moving forward, from doing what you've been called to do. Look at Alison. She's a beautiful example. A beautiful example. She has a degree in biology and math. Like, where did that come from? And now she's like, listen, she's killing the game. So, Alison, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This was a privilege and an honor. We're going to talk later.
Always.
Always. But again, if you guys want to reach out to Alison, reach out to me and I'll hook you up, or contact her at her email that she said previously. But again, thank y'all for joining us tonight. Remember that, girl, you can do it too. And you can do it no matter your age, no matter your skin color, whatever you put your mind to, you can do it too. Alison, love you, girl. Thank you, everybody that joined us tonight. Please feel free to share this video, share this to anybody that you know that needs it, that wants to know more information about public health. There's so many resources out there. Look it up. I mean, we're living in a whole pandemic right now. So we're thankful for everyone that's in the public health field that is just pushing us forward to being healthier individuals and giving us the resources that we need to be healthier and better. So we love you guys. Thank you so much. And this is our last show for this season. We're going on break for the summer and we will be back in September. But continue to watch the videos, continue to share it, go on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, all that good stuff. And we are signing off. Thank you, Alison.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right. See y'all. Bye.